Hey now,
Hey now.
welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. I'm Felina Hopkins.
And I'm Richard Casholi.
And today we are going to be talking about traveling. And if you are watching this video, we also have it on audio on all the normal, usual platforms. And if you're listening to this, we have it on YouTube. So you can watch our podcast as well.
Which is always better, I think.
that is.
Well, I think it's good to put a face to the voice, and then also the interaction. I listen to other podcasts, but when I watch a podcast, I just find it more engaging because, especially when you have guests or if we're talking to one another, I think it's a little different because I find it brings you in. When I can't see the people talking, you got to use your imagination and wonder, okay, what. You know what I mean?
You can tell there's a smile, but you'd like to see the smile.
Yeah, also.
Or smirk or whatever. You get to see it happen.
And then the reaction and interaction between, the people that are talking, I think is always, good.
Come here. Yeah, and you would see, for example, that the dog has just come up between us underneath the table, and I'm now trying to wrangle a dog. But you would not have seen that if you were just listening to the podcast.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
In fact, for those watching, here's the dog.
Sophie.
It's Sophie.
Oh, say hello, Soph. Oh, it is a good girl.
Sophie, is there anything you'd like to say to our listeners?
No.
Look at her face on the camera.
She's like, can you put me down? Good girl.
All right, we're putting you down.
Good
there
girl.
You go.
So,
it's a
travel.
Dog, and I'm lifting her onto my lap.
So let's talk.
Travel.
Let's talk about travel and actually traveling by yourself.
Yeah,
because a lot of people don't, or they're a little bit more apprehensive to travel by themselves, which I understand, and I fall into that. It's always nice to have a companion to talk and I don't know, whatever.
I actually like traveling by myself because I don't want to always have to check in with what I'm going to do next, where I'm going to eat, and all of that stuff. Am I up yet? You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're with someone else, you kind of have not that you have a schedule, but and
you have to corroborate the plan with
true.
Everything.
And if you're happen to be somewhat of a people pleaser, then that could kind of get in the way of things as well, because you're always concerned or worried about the other person and the schedule to make sure you're doing something and you're busy and they're happy. But when you're by yourself, it's great. You don't have to worry about that. I personally, I'm not a huge traveler, like getting on planes and stuff like that, which
you're going to be soon, though, when you have to go to Italy because of that Italian language you're learning and getting fluent in.
Molto bene, benissimo. But mi non piace l'aereo. I don't like to go on airplanes. But
what he said.
But I do like to go out to the desert. Here in California, there's so many amazing spas and resorts out in the desert. One of the spas that I really love to go to is in Desert Hot Springs, and it's called Two Bunch Palms. And the reason I like going there is
shout out to Two Bunch Palms.
Yeah, shout out to Two Bunch Palms. I've been going there for over 30 years now. When I first came here, interestingly enough, a friend of mine who, God rest her soul, she passed away, but she turned me on to this place 30 years ago, and I started going, and I've never, I've been going, and it's been under 2-3 different renovations now. 2 different people bought it. And the reason I like going there is because it has the hot mineral springs, which is the sulfur water, which is really good for you, really good for your skin. And this resort is just beautiful. It's on acres of land. You park your car. You don't have to do anything. You walk the property. I mean, of course, it is the desert, so depending on what time you go, it could be hot. But the other good thing is if you do go in the latter months, like now, the price drops considerably too because of the heat. But all the rooms are air conditioned. The restaurant's air conditioned. You're in the pool. You're in the hot tubs. It's a little. But the other part about it too is the heat. I think actually acts like a antioxidant.
Well, it's like a sauna. You're living in a sauna, walking around.
Oh yeah, you sweat, and it's dry heat,
and so your sweat evaporates.
Oh yeah,
it evaporates.
Yeah. And not for nothing, but then like if you do go with somebody, I don't know me, and this might just be my own personal thing, but when it's that hot and you're sweating and everything, it's kind of sexy, like because you don't want to have clothes on, and just I don't know, the heat and sweating just kind of does something to me. It's just like you kind of laminate, like wow. Anywho, it's all good. Yeah,
You've heard
but
it
that
here,
but that
everybody.
place is really.
We now know that when it gets hot outside, it gets
Look
hot
out.
inside for Richard.
Exactly. But so, what about you?
Hold on, I'm going to turn off my phone, so I'm not so rude with the beepings. There we go. All right. See, you are first with me, everyone.
Yeah. Our audience is number one.
And you are.
Numero uno. Grazie.
There you go.
Where do you have any spas or places you like to go here in California?
I'm not a spa. I haven't been the spa person. I have done some traveling.
I know.
And for tips, I wanted to share for the solo tips. Well, it goes for women, but it also goes for men too. There's certain things you do, like you only bring a little bit of cash, mostly credit cards, and you find out which credit cards you have that do not charge a other country fee, which is very, very big, because a lot of them have an extra fee on there. And if you don't know that, you are screwed. And the WhatsApp is good for talking to people on the phone. It's free with any Wi-Fi, so that's very good. Yeah. I also had a money belt. I don't anymore. This was... now I just do a little bit of cash and I have it hidden, and you take advantage of the safes if there's a safe in the place. But mostly just keep not that much. And then have some with a family member or friend at home so that they can send it to you if you get in a bind. Also take a picture of your IDs and your credit card so that memorize the back number on the back so that if anything happens and you get things stolen, you're safe. Mm. But I just kept a little money belt. That way it's not on my person. Also have things hidden. What the heck? I don't know why that still beeps. It's on the airplane mode. Also keep things hidden. This is just stuff for traveling as a woman, because guys, especially like somebody like you, Richard, if you're not looking at the video, you don't know that Richard is built like a fucking rock. Boom. He's just got the best body from all the work that he does on it and all the physical training and stuff. So nobody's going to mess with you as easily. They might. If there's like a group, I've heard there's groups that work together sometimes.
Well, and then you got to be careful where you travel, because like I've heard some places you travel, specifically Brazil, they don't care who you are, what you look like. They will figure out how to gang up on you, steal your shit, mug you.
They've been having a lot of robberies in Brazil.
Oh. It's sad. It's just sad. And then, it's sad for the industry because people don't want to travel and you're not going to get tourists. But back to...
but back to traveling, though. So solo, one of the things that I did, I was going to go to a retreat, and I decided on the last minute to not do the retreat and instead just go on my own, so I wasn't having to do certain things at a certain time. I like freedom. And because I have so many things I have so many plates I'm spinning in the air at all times, for me to go and do nothing or do everything on my terms whenever I want to do it is the luxury. For me, that is the spa. So I ended up going to Italy. I went to Sorrento, and I ended up staying at Crawford Inn, which I didn't realize. I did know that it was run by nuns. It's an inn hotel. Anybody can stay there. But I didn't know it used to belong to... Crawford is a writer from America who bought this gorgeous property. Yeah, and I'm a writer. So I show up, and they've got this enormous painting of the writer. I think it's John Crawford. Now my name is blanking on the first name. My mind is blanking. But it was absolutely stunning. It had, within walking distance, I found a scooter shop and rented a scooter for 4 days. And was riding along through town and along the Mediterranean Sea to my right, with just a stone wall that was, 3 feet high. I really felt like if I just hit this the right way, I could be flying into the Mediterranean Sea right now, because you're right on the edge. Cliff. It was a cliff. So it wasn't like a beach type where you're down with the beach level. I was looking over it, and it was the drop was considerable. But that was alongside the Amalfi Coast and stuff. And what I did was just followed my heart. Everything I wanted to do, everywhere I wanted to go. And one of the nights I came back, I heard music playing at the top of this other hotel. So I walked in and I said, "Hi, is there some live music up there?" And he said, "Yeah." I go, "Can anybody go?" "Sure." I go up and I meet this nice couple and they see me by myself. And I tell them I'm traveling by myself because people are always very curious. And most people I say, "No, my husband's back at the place. No, I have my boyfriend. He's down in the room," or whatever, because you don't want to say you're traveling by yourself. But this was a couple who was obviously, they were American. They started telling me a lot about themselves and how they met and this love stories. I told them I was a romance author and it just went on from there. So I knew that they could hear it. I said, "No, I'm traveling by myself." And the woman stared at me blankly. And she goes, "I don't think I could travel by myself." And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, "What are you reading?" And I hold up the book. It's called "You Are a Badass."
Nice.
Which I wasn't thinking about it. I was reading it because I wasn't feeling particularly badass at all. And I wanted to have a little boost. I forgot who the author is, but you can look it up right now. "You Are a Badass." It became a #1 bestseller, I'm pretty sure.
I like it.
And they started cracking up because they thought I was one. And really all I was a control freak who doesn't want to tell people where I'm going at dinner and just be able to travel on my own. So, yeah. What's it like to travel alone? It can be bliss.
Yeah, I back to like what you were saying before, sometimes it takes, I know for me, it takes a minute for me to actually relax. Like even when I go out to the desert, it's only, about a 2-hour drive to get there. You get there, you unpack, go to the pool, but it takes me, it used to take me like 2 days to completely like get out of my head on what, that was back when I was working 3 jobs and I just couldn't, you can't, it's very difficult, which I'm sure you can relate, our audience can relate.
Oh, I'm absolutely the same way.
Very hard to shut your brain off. And then another, so like, let's give some tips.
How did you do it? Yeah.
Okay. Number one, you don't bring your phone with you. You bring your phone. You
have to bring your phone with you.
You bring it.
I'm sorry.
You bring it to the, you bring it to the resort.
Yeah.
But you can leave it in the room.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You don't have to have it right by your side at the pool where everyone else. And, the worst thing for me is when I'm at the spa and somebody picks up their phone and starts talking to somebody right at the pool or in the quiet areas. You're like, I personally don't keep my mouth shut. I'm like, "Excuse me." And I'm like, "What?" What do you mean what? This is a quiet area and you're on the phone. Well, I just got it. No, you just don't. You could take that back to your room or out in the car, the parking lot. I don't care where you go, but you can't stay here, on that phone. So number one, you can, turn your phone off.
I love you so much.
Or leave your phone in the,
like,
in the room. Yeah.
Do they get up?
Some do, some just turn it off. But if somebody sits there and continues to have their conversation, I'll just say it again. "Excuse me. Which part of this don't you understand?" Really. I'll tell you a really funny story, a quick little funny story about this. A couple years back, I was at a doctor's appointment. So I go into the doctor's appointment and the room is packed. Okay. I don't know why, but there wasn't a free seat in the room. All of a sudden, this guy sitting there with his back to me because it was like in the middle row. And the phone rings. He picks up the phone. He's talking to a friend in New York and he's going off on this conversation. "Yeah, I know. Fuck you. Fuck that guy. Right. Yeah." And everyone's looking at him. Every patient in the office is looking at him. The receptionist is even looking over the counter being like, and then she looks at me like this and I look at her like, "Okay, do something about it. You work here."
Yeah.
Nobody would say anything to this guy.
Let me guess.
So I said to him, "Excuse me, sir." And he ignores me because he knows he's rude and out of line. And then I get up and I tap on the shoulder. I said, "Excuse me, sir." He goes, "Yeah. What do you want?" I said, "You're on the phone. You're being extremely rude. There's a waiting room full of people. I don't want to hear your conversation. I don't think anyone else in here does either." He says, "Well, what would you like me to do?" I said, "You could go outside. Step outside in the hallway." So then the guy gets up, goes to the door, opens the door on the phone with the guy, and he looks at me. He goes, "Oh, excuse me, to his friend. He says, but someone's being extremely rude right now to me, so I have to walk outside. He walks out, shuts the door.
Someone's being rude because they're putting up a boundary and saying
everybody,
you're being rude.
Everybody in the waiting room fucking clapped. And then the receptionist said, thank you for that. I said, well, I mean, I'm not trying to be an asshole.
I wonder if he thought that they were clapping because of what he said.
Who cares?
Who cares? That's the way to go.
I don't care what, again, nobody puts baby in the corner. It's as simple as that. I'm at a stage in my life, my recovery. I just can't tolerate bullshit, and I can't tolerate rude fucking people. And when you go to a place and you're spending money on a resort, and you have somebody, and there's signs there that say quiet area, no cell phones, and you want to pick up your cell phone, well, you're damn right I'm going to fucking say something, because I'm paying to be in a quiet area and relax. And I don't even want to be on the phone, no less do I want to hear you talking to whoever on the phone. So anyway, so one of the things, you hopefully, you can leave your phone in the room. You could take a walk. I mean, there's so many different things to help you to get out of that. And that's why I like to go there, because there's no TVs in the room. They do have, obviously, there
was no TV in my room in the place that the nuns worked as well. It was very, very minimal, everything. It looked like a place that a nun would stay in. It had, I mean, I walked in, the mattress was thin, the amenities were small, they had food, and that was it. And it was just, but then it had this gorgeous view of the sea and the quiet of the space, and bougainvillea bushes everywhere with the flowers.
So let's real quick, that we just brought that up. No televisions in the room.
No televisions in certain places.
Room. Mm-hmm. So again, for me, those things are distractions. The phone is a distraction. The television is a distraction. Things like that distract you from spending time with yourself, really just sitting with yourself. Most people can't do that. And think about how many people.
But if you can, that's where the gold is.
That's right.
So you have to make yourself do it.
Right. And think about how many people that have a television in their bedroom, right? And then they go to bed. They're both sitting on the phone, playing on their phone with the television on.
Yeah.
They fall asleep with their phone in their hand and the TV going.
Well,
now,
but
what people don't realize is, even when you fall asleep and then you go into REM, when you're in REM, whatever is playing in the background is sinking into your head.
Yeah. It becomes a part of you.
It becomes a part of you. So then you wake up in the morning.
That's why it's a memory.
And a lot of people like to go to bed watching the news. Worst thing you can do. Yeah. Or watching the news while you're eating dinner. So now people don't realize this, but what you're doing is you're watching the news, the sensational and all the bad shit. You're eating. You're actually ingesting.
You're ingesting it
the news
in your brain and in your mouth. But let's go back to travel. Let's keep this on the travel focus. I have, because I like this, the tips of how to relax while you're on traveling is the no TV, and you had the
no cell phone.
No cell phone when you go out to the things. I love that. I have a tip for
no partners, go by yourself. No.
That was mine. No partners, go by yourself. No, I like traveling with people too.
No, I do too. Yeah.
But I think, isn't it Bill Murray that says if you want to marry somebody, go and travel with them?
Oh God, yeah.
And then see how that goes, and then marry them if it goes really, really well. Because there's so many things that come into play when you're actually living in the space with somebody. But wait, there was one tip I wanted to give for traveling solo, and you do need a phone for this. When you were at the airport and you're about to get into a cab or an Uber or a Lyft or whatever that you are using as mode of transportation, get your GPS, put in the thing, and look at it and know it. Because if you are somebody who's just visiting, they can take advantage of you.
Oh yeah.
But if they think you live there, they don't.
Well,
so you tell them, can you go? Like if you go to New York, so take this and go up 5th, and then take a left on, blah 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 blah, and don't go that way because it's a one way. They'll be like, oh, I can't mess with this person. So
take the 405 to the 101 to the 134.
To the 10, to the 110, to the 610, to the 710.
Remember that Saturday Night Live skit?
Yeah. Freaking. But here's the thing is, like, if you act like you know where you are.
Yeah.
Here's a little story. We arrived in Belize with my family. This was a trip that my dad took us on, me and my sisters, and our friend Suzanne. We get there. We've got a map of Belize, and we're in a freaking alley, and they're looking at it like, wait, where do we go? Where do we? And this guy approaches us, and he is the kind of guy who you do not want to have in an alley come up to you at all. And so I said, guys, we know where we're going. We know where we're going. Guys, we're going this way. Come on. And it took them a second, but I forgot that I even did this, but I got us out of there because it looked like, hello, tourist trap. Yeah, I'll show you where to go. Come this way. And he was really scary. And he's one of those people, because I don't want to put fear in everybody's minds. We're just doing this to be smart so that when it happens, it won't, because you're going to be prepared. But he came up, I guided them away. I closed the map and I said, oh, they're just visiting me. I live here, and my sister, or something like that. My sister brought it up years later. She goes, I'll never forget you going, guys, what are you doing? You can't do this. But if you don't know and you go to some small place and you think somebody's coming up to help you, they may not be. Well, it's better to arm yourself with the directions before you get out of that freaking airport.
And to add to the whole safety thing, because I'm hyper aware, hyper vigilant, I've studied, trained all kinds of different,
it's just smart.
It's just smart. And you have to be aware of your surroundings. Don't be a deer in a headlight. Always make sure you, like you just said, know where you're going, know where you're going to end up. You tell them, the directions or whatnot, so you appear to know what you're
I've
doing.
argued with some taxi cab drivers because they're going the wrong way. And I wouldn't have known that they were doing that and trying to get that meter up and rob me, essentially.
Well, and then
I hadn't paid attention.
And then to the whole safety part of it, unfortunately, we live in a world that, could be a little.
There are some bad guys out there.
Yeah. And you just have to be careful. You have to be aware. You can't. Here's another tip for traveling. Okay. When you travel, if you want to go walk around or you want to go for a jog or a run, you could put your earbuds in, but only put one in.
I wouldn't do. Yeah.
Only put one in, because you need to be able to hear if somebody's walking up on you, if they're behind you, what they're saying. Be completely aware of your surroundings and not to get all into the whole, being more precautious, but, safety first. I always believe safety.
Then you get to have a good time, because you're not going to be caught unaware. And the truth is that, 1 in 3 women supposedly in their lifetime is assaulted.
Yeah.
So it's like, why be part of that percentage?
Well,
you can, get away from it. Also, walk like you know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, walk into a place and ask somebody who actually works there and who looks nice. Don't ask just one of the people who's, in the space, but somebody who's getting paid with a paycheck is the person to trust, because they probably live nearby. That's how they have that job. Lots of different things you can do. And then you can have a good time.
And then another tip, don't walk with your head down.
Right.
Don't look at the sidewalk. Don't look at your shoes. Stand up and look people in the eye.
And don't just walk reading your phone either, because anybody, can you imagine? This just got dark.
No, I know, but
smart. No, it's smart.
But it is smart, and because there's smart little,
think about.
Traveling tips. Even here, even if you're not traveling, I tell women this all the time, because I've taught, Krav Maga, I've taught impact,
train people
for women, safety and security. But
what do you mean impact?
Impact is a form of self-defense for men and women who have been either abused, molested, beat up. And I trained and actually was an instructor for them for a long time.
Wow.
And again, that's here in LA, but they travel all over the place. But what that does is, again, they teach you to be aware, to always, look up. And again, we don't need to go all the way into this, because we're taking a segue.
I trained in Krav Maga for 2.5 years.
But the safety part of it is, don't walk around like a victim.
Which means looking like a victim, head down, being in the phone. If you're in the phone, you're kind of in a different world. I'm scrolling. I'm looking at my Instagram. I'm posting to my Instagram. Right. So easy for somebody to come over and push you around, because you're not even paying attention. You're not even in this world.
Yeah.
But when going around, so another one of my tips that's on a good note, has nothing to do with just protecting yourself against the bad guys. The bad guys are out there.
Yeah.
Be careful. Experiment with different types of food. You know, I've seen so many Americans in other countries. I've done quite a bit of traveling where they want to go to places that serve American food. Why in the world, when you're in a different country, would you go and get food you can get in your neighborhood, in your town? And I get people are afraid of change, and people want to have something that's familiar. Everything's been so strange to them, quote unquote. But there's so many things on a menu that you are not going to get another chance to get because you are there. It's just, there's so much in the world that's so beautiful, and you can just go ahead and explore and go, I'm going to try something different, and I might not like it, but I gave it a shot, and that story will become a story part of your story that you'll be telling at dinner parties.
So basically, I think for our listeners and also for us is, one, safety, but in that, if you feel safe, then you're more apt to explore, you're more apt to try new things. And, kind of like we were talking about, try to know your environment. Even if you're here and you're not traveling, unfortunately.
You still want to do the safety.
You still want to do the safety thing.
No, I meant you.
Oh, well,
I switched it off of safety. I'm trying to go with some happy stuff.
Yeah, so happy
How
stuff.
do they How do they approach in just to enjoy themselves? Well, you said keep your phone out.
Yeah,
there was 3. You said 3 things, but we got 2 of them. So it was leave your phone.
Leave your phone.
Not have.
We don't need the television.
And no television in the bedroom. My mom actually told us that. Me and my sister. She's like, do not ever have a television in your bedroom. The bedroom is for other things.
The bedroom
that's
is
how she
for
said
two
it.
things.
The bedroom is for other things.
And that's it. And television ain't one of them.
If you're just doing 2 things, then you just have not lived.
I'm just saying, I don't want to get too, graphic for our audience.
The bedroom's for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And the television isn't one of them.
No, again, it's a distraction, but there comes back full circle to, kind of having, a healthy relationship. I mean,
put a healthy relationship into traveling. How do you travel with a partner? Have you ever gone to your with someone? So how did you make that work for you?
Basically, I just go walk by myself. No. No, here's what you do. Here's what I do. I mean, I try to make it fun.
This is to the spa, right?
Yeah, go to the spa. You can go for a walk.
And for our lady listeners, you're about to hear something that makes you want to go to a spa with Richard. Here we go.
I bring my backgammon game. I bring
what? That's not what I was expecting.
Well, we'll get into the more.
Is it strip backgammon?
Exactly. Yeah, of course. See, now you're on
now
you're on the same page as me.
Here I am saying the ladies are about to want to go.
Well, no,
I bring my backgammon.
Yeah, a deck of cards so you can play Rummy 500, strip Rummy 500,
strip Rummy. We go to restaurants, strip restaurants. Get your head out of the gutter.
Yeah. Well, again, think of fun things to do with your partner.
Well, how did you do that?
I always ask.
I want to know personal stories.
Well, I mean, when I go to the spa, it's for rest and relaxation. So when I go to the spa and I take somebody with me, I book us massages, I book us facials, I book us manicures, pedicures, scrubs. I mean, that's the whole.
This is what I wanted to get.
Yeah, and if you go to a nice
ice cream now.
Yeah, if you go to a good place, you're going to get good treatments. That's going to put both of you in a nice, relaxed state. And then, you go and hang out in the mineral hot springs. You can meditate. Gosh. It's like I said, when I tell you this place is divine, it's for me, it's extremely, pleasurable to go there. Cause like I said, now it doesn't take me as long to relax. I usually go for, 4 days, 3 nights. And that's, you could go longer, but that 2 nights is because you got to leave the next day. But again, whatever that is for you, try. And if you are going to travel with somebody, plan ahead of time and talk about things that you would like to do together. I mean, there they have tennis courts and stuff.
Too. Do you do these massages on 2 tables in the same room next to each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about pedicures?
Do the couples. everything. You can
Everything.
you could get everything singular a la carte, or you could do it as a couple, and then you go into one room with 2 tables. I mean, it's just you're not sitting there talking to one another, necessarily, but it's just nice to have somebody there with you because you're sharing the experience, together. And
Sure.
And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is that
that's the bonus of having somebody there with you.
Yeah, when you are with somebody and you are getting a treatment together, a couples treatment, people don't realize this, but you're actually getting their energy as well because you're in the same room with them. And when
that's why it's important who you travel with.
Correct. You don't want to travel with bad energy.
And this is why we bring it back to our topic of solo traveling, because I like my own energy.
Yeah.
Now, I have traveled with people. I tend to meet a lot of people when I'm out traveling. And I did the backpacking youth hostel thing for a couple of months by myself and met a lot of people in the hostels. And then I'd see them in the next hostel. And I have such amazing, amazing memories of that. And I did do a yoga retreat a couple of years ago with a bunch of people in Bali. And that was fantastic. And all of us doing the bike ride for 2.5 miles down the Bali mountain. I mean, that was amazing.
Wow, that sounds nice.
But I do like being on my own for the pure purpose of I get to do what I want when I want without having to get a committee voting on it. How do I feel? Do I want to sleep in? Do I want to wake up at 4 o'clock?
So you like to be a woman of leisure?
I am a woman of leisure with many jobs.
Well, it's funny you say that. I a couple of months ago, I was at an event and someone asked me, what do you do? And I looked at them and I said, "Oh, I'm a man of leisure."
Yeah, you've talked about that on the podcast.
And they laughed at me and they said, "No, really, what do you do?" And I said, "No, really, I am a man of leisure. I have." But again,
you do work though.
Oh no,
I get to work on your own schedule on your own time.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about being self-employed.
You created it that way.
Yeah, I've created that.
And that helps you travel because you don't have to book in somebody's hours and cancel.
The only difference is, and we've had this discussion as well, and actually with one of our guests, is that when you are self-employed, you got to take into consideration that if you go on vacation, well, now you're not getting paid.
Nobody's doing the work.
And no one's doing the work, but
I tend to write while I'm on vacation now that I'm a writer because I can write anywhere. So
well, yeah, but that's good because
and I can write it off.
Right, and certain environments, venues will intrigue you to write about something or get you into a different frame of mind to write. Like you go to this spa. It's very.
I should go. I need to go.
I want to say it's just great, but I want to say it's romantic. It's nice. You go into the grotto and these huge palm trees that line the entire property. You feel like you're in another world. Like I said, and it's very quiet because people are not listening to music. People are not hopefully on their phones and doing all that stuff. But I meet a lot of people too. I mean, when I go away, interestingly enough, one of the times I went away and I was sitting at the pool. And I had my backgammon game with me, and a woman just rolled up on me and said, "Oh, you play backgammon?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, I play too. Would you like to play?" And I said, "Sure." So I pull up a chair for her. She sits down. Unbeknownst to me, she's a backgammon champ, and she competes in this shit, right? So I had no idea. She didn't tell me, and I.
And she's just like, ting, 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 ting.
Yeah, she's like crushing me. and I was like, wait a minute. And then I said to her, I said, "Man, you're really good." She goes, "Yeah, I compete." I was like, "Oh yeah, thanks. I'm glad we didn't play for money or anything,
Did you connect with this woman on a romantic level?
No.
God, you should have, because you bring backgammon with you, and then you happen to meet a backgammon champion. That would have been that would be one of my romance books. And I have written the places into Edinburgh's in Cocky Genius, Book 9 of Cocker Brothers. The Sorrento is Every Single Thing About You, the Tuck Yes series, Book 3. They were in there. They're in there. They're at that place, actually. I put them at the same place. I
personally don't have a hard time speaking with people if, start a conversation. And unfortunately, though,
I always want to, but I end up doing it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've gotten blamed and in trouble for that. At this spa, one of the last times I went about a year ago, I was waiting for the woman that I was with to come out. She said, I'll be out in a minute. I'm going to take a shower or whatever. I said, okay, I'll be at the pool. So I go out to the pool and it was hot and I'm in the pool. And again, a woman comes, gets in the pool. I'm not even facing her. Unbeknownst to me, she says hello. I say hello. We're talking across the pool. Wasn't even like she came up to me, but I'm talking to her across the pool. This woman comes out that I'm with, and I immediately, hi, this is so and so. This is what was your name again? She tells me her name. Well, then later on, I get the cold shoulder. I said, what's going on? She goes, well, I can't believe you were sitting there flirting with that woman. I said, whoa, time out. I wasn't flirting. I said, that woman came into the pool and said hello to me. And out of being polite, I said hello. And I said, the minute you came out, I introduced you. I said, you're barking up the wrong tree, and that's not who I am.
It could have been perceived that way, though. I know a lot of people would have perceived the same thing. But I can tell everybody listening right now and watching that Richard would never have been scoping on some other chick while he's with another one.
And I completely understand where she was coming from, and I acknowledge that. I said, good. I can...
Because it's normal. It's kind of normal. Some people will do that. Some people just either want attention or they're not doing that. You were just talking and being friendly.
And we weren't even talking about anything. Like, I mean, it was the weather, being there.
And she could have been hitting on you. But who cares? Well, your intentions are not that.
The woman that I was with said, oh, no, she was clearly hitting on you. I said, okay.
And also, you would not have necessarily known that because sometimes you don't realize that.
No, I'm a bit naive when it comes to that because that's not where my mind was. My mind wasn't, oh, I'm with somebody, but
you're pretty hot in the pool.
But you're pretty hot, so what's the next best thing? And let me get your number. And, no, like I mean,
a lot of people do that. Well, I don't know about a lot.
Yeah, that can. But I'm not in high. We're not in high school anymore.
They're poopy heads. So screw them.
Well, yeah. So then I had to have that conversation with her and blah blah blah. But I get it. I completely. Well, here's another thing. When things like that come up. And if you're traveling or going with your partner, for men, because like you just said, that could be taken or misconstrued.
It could have been, but then it needs to be put aside as soon as it's shut down. Well, you got to trust and say no.
And so what I was going to say, though.
How did you react to it?
Not well, but my point is to that, for the men out there, when you feel that happening and when you feel that energy shift and because you kind of do know you were talking to another woman, your girl comes out, and even though you introduced her or whatever, it could be misconstrued. But as a man, you need to comfort your woman and you need to reassure her and make sure, even if she believes you or not, that, wait a minute, time out. Where in the past have I ever done that? I would never do that to you. Just reassure her and be done with it, but don't not address it and then get in an argument, because a lot of guys do that and think, well, you're mad at me and I wasn't the one doing anything. So fine, you be mad, I be mad. I'm going to go for a walk. You're going to go do your thing.
We're both going to have a miserable time.
Right. Come on. Help me to help you. Get on the same page, get back, ground yourselves and make her know that was not your intention. And I apologize if it hurt your feelings. It won't happen again. And then the rest of the trip, I recognized that. And I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to talk to anybody in the pool. Fuck it.
I had a fight with a guy. I went to Savannah. I went to Savannah with a guy and we had seen each other 10 years ago. And we decided to meet in Savannah. I was living in Atlanta at the time and he was up in New York. So he flew down. Nice. And the first night was fantastic, as it should be. Like, let's write about it in a book, kind of fantastic. And the second night was not. We got into a huge fight where both of us were like other sides of the bed and just like this. And I think I know I asked so what are we going to do now? Because we were supposed to be spending the day together. And then he went to the airport. That was the plan. Well, I'm just going to go to the airport and I'll bring my bag and I'll leave early and I'll just hang out at the airport for all those hours. It was like 6-7 hours or something.
Oh, no.
And I said, no, that's not. I go, can we just be adults about this? We thought we came here for something. It didn't work out.
Right.
But that's okay because we still care about each other. We came here for a reason because we liked each other and it has not worked out the way we wanted to. So let's end this, and he said something about what happened with the fight. And I said, I just really wanted a hug rather than what happened. And he said, would you like a hug now? And part of me was like, no, I know. And I said, but that's just the little child part of me. And I said, yeah. So he gave me a hug. We spooned, fell back asleep, and went to a museum that day. And then I took him to the airport and we said goodbye on really good terms. And then when I moved up to New York, I actually had lunch with him one day too, just as friends. So it's like, there's so many ways you can handle a fight where me saying, by the way, like, I care about you. You care about me. Can we get through this together? Which is what I said. We both care about each other. Can we get through this together? Like, let's talk this out.
Well, I think that's
and then he did. He looked at me and we talked it out and ended up spooning and falling asleep as friends. It was fucking beautiful.
Well, I like that because I
didn't work out, but it doesn't mean you have to be rude.
Well, right. I think part of that is being humble enough to, let's agree to disagree on this topic. But then the other thing is, we all have to, I think, keep the focus on ourselves and what is my part here? And
also give them
the dignity and the grace, right? To feel their feelings.
To feel in their feelings and also to be making mistakes if they're making mistakes. Because they don't know what you need.
Well, right.
So and they could be stepping on toes without, and it could be on purpose. It could be not, whatever. It can go down to the root thing, which is we're all human. If something doesn't work out, it doesn't have to be a battle for it to end.
Well, right. It's a question of, are we going to come towards one another or are we going to move away like magnets?
And that can mean just respect. Are we going to respect one another?
And even if you aren't going to, have a relationship or cultivate a relationship with this person that you might have thought might have been
a romantic one.
Right.
We have a friend relationship.
Even with friends, let's table this, let's put it on the table. Let's talk about it like adults, like you said, and come to some sort of an agreement that, for me, I feel in any situation, if I suit up, show up, and I make amends for my part, or I look at my part, if I don't have to make an amends, that's one thing. But if I'm not even willing to look at my part and realize that, okay, wait a minute, I didn't do anything wrong, but your feelings are obviously hurt by something. And a lot of times I have to be honest with you, and this is part of our podcast, is to help people through situations like this. A lot of times it has nothing to do with you or what you are doing or what your mannerisms are, your behaviors. It's a question of what in the other person are they working on, or were they wounded from, or are they carrying with them? How many podcasts have we discussed this about how, our job is not to, coddle the other person, but it is to have feelings and be,
It's not about coddling. It's about holding space.
It's about holding space.
I love holding space. I love the term holding space. It's like I'm giving you space to be honest in this moment. And when I take care of myself, because you were saying if we take responsibility for our actions, if we are taking our own inventory, you sit there. That's what I did with the thing. I told him I got triggered by something. What happened was because of this. And it was a very sensitive issue. And when I brought it up, it wasn't, I didn't feel heard with it. I just really needed a hug. That's how the conversation came with the hug. And he said, well, you didn't seem like I could even come close to you, much less hug you in that moment. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. I can understand that. And it's just like discussing it, like literally talking about it, just two adults, not, you didn't seem like you could take a hug. It was more like, well, I didn't think I could hug you.
Right.
And I looked like you needed a hug, he said, that kind of thing. But if I take care of my business and I own up to my side, then they have the ability to come to it as well. And you can say, it's like when with dating, first dates or whatever, like online dating, I always say, I didn't find,
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go on.
You won't go online dating?
Never have.
Well, I'm a writer, so I'm not out in the world like as much.
Yeah. No.
Like,
and I'm not
at my house, and
it's
I'm
hard
not to meet people.
Yeah, and I'm not judging you, or I just.
Well, I don't think you're judging me. I'm saying it's hard. It's hard because then you feel like you're in a grocery store. But I have so many people in my life who are, actually married to the people they met online.
No, I heard it could be great.
No, seridly. Like in my, I know a ton of people. And when just a minute.
Yeah.
How did I get on this? If it doesn't work out, I always say, I didn't feel the connection we're both looking for, but I really appreciated your time. And I really enjoyed the conversation.
Or
Thank you so much.
I didn't feel a connection. I was looking.
No, I say we're. That's the key. Because
no, right, because then it's not defensive. No, I know where you're going.
No. It's because hear me out. When I say we, it sounds like I'm just coddling or something like that if we take it like that. But no, I actually mean it because they are looking for somebody who wants to be with them too.
Right.
They are looking for a connection where we're both in it to win it. Right? Because that's what everybody really wants. If you can find it, cool. But so when I say, because if I say I didn't feel a connection, that's just going to hurt them because it could mean, but the truth is, if I'm not feeling it, then they're not feeling it. And if they think that they are just because they think something,
well,
whatever.
That's what I'm saying.
But the thing is that's only happened once. All the times I've said that, and I've said it a few times, they came forward and said, wow, that was really honest. I really appreciate that. Or one guy said, I felt the same way. I was going to give it a second shot, but I'm glad you said that. Yeah. And another guy said, well, I actually felt something. And I said, well, I know what you're looking for is that we both do. And then that was it. No more arguments from him. And it's one of those things where I'm taking into account that we're both human beings looking for something very real, looking for love, looking for, or just a partner or friendship, or like we were talking about with Jessica when we had Jessica on, all kinds of different types of relationship. Yeah. You want to have something where you're bringing in a threesome. It has to be where all three people are in it at the same time. I mean, there's all different types of things, but if you're not in it and you don't want it, there's a way to get out that is honoring them and you in humanity, like in just the kindness to say, we are not working out here because we don't have the connection we're looking for.
That'll have to be another podcast, dating in the digital world. And we could get into
seriously
a lot of different, conversations about that.
But you haven't done it, so it'll just be me talking.
Yeah. Well, be your experience, strength, and hope. I still have hope. I just don't have any experience.
I was on it briefly, and I'm not on it right now, so we'll see.
Back in the day, a friend of mine, I mean, this was 15 years ago, a friend of mine, I don't know, God, was just feeling sorry for me and said, I'm going to put you on Match.com and I'm going to pay for it for the year or 6 months, whatever. And I was like, yeah, don't waste your money. Well, she did it anyway. And it was a couple friend of mine, they were married. So for my birthday, she did it. And I went on 2 dates. And both of the dates I went on, I roll up. And basically what it was 2 free lunches for these women. And neither one of them looked like the picture they put on there. Literally.
You got to look at the worst picture of the pictures. And if there's only one picture, don't go. That's
well. See, yeah,
okay,
I had
we're gonna have to. We're gonna have. We'll do another.
That's the
one.
other podcast.
That's a little bit of a what's the word? A trailer for our next podcast about online dating, because I do have a lot of tips for it. I do, because you cannot look.
We'll talk about it.
Those freaking pictures. All right, this has been an absolute blast. Thank you for being with us. Follow us on all the things. Hit a rating on the podcast if you wouldn't mind. Give us a rating. That would be great. And tell your friends.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being with us. And hey now.
Hey now.
What the what?
What the what? Right on.